Hey everyone, my name is Nicole Temple-Assisi. I am the co-founder and CEO of Thrive Public Schools, and our topic that I wanted to talk today was, let's get personal. Why personalized learning really matters more than ever for our students. Before I touch on that, I wanted to just give you a brief overview of Thrive. We're located in San Diego, in California, Southern California, currently serving elementary, middle, and high school. And what's really great about Thrive and the accolades that I am most proud of is that Thrive was recognized as one of 50 organizations nationally doing some innovative work around social emotional learning. Because I think sometimes when we talk about education, we lose sight of the fact that humans are social creatures and we come together to solve problems together. Additionally, in San Diego, we've been recognized by our state senate for the work that we've been doing, and we've been named one of the top 100 schools worth visiting. So invite all of you to come and see us. We've talked about this before, but essentially, education hasn't changed much in the last 100+ years. Classrooms used to look like this. And in some places, they still do. Essentially not preparing kids for the futures that really lie ahead for them, because let's think about this. That student right there, that's what medicine looked like when these kids were in school. Gentleman sitting next to me mentioned, penicillin. We invented penicillin, and yes, we should use it. But that was the classroom that young doctor was in. Telecommunication, Instagram, Twitter looked something like this. And this could have been the Uber driver I took from the airport to the hotel. So essentially, if we teach today as we taught yesterday, we truly rob our children of tomorrow. And that's why we've come together. And coming together is really the core of Thrive. What makes our community beautiful is that our children come from 45 different zip codes, and we are arguably one of the most diverse schools out there. Up to 25% of the students at some of our campuses have a disability. A third of them, English is not their first language, and over half of them will be the first in their family to go to college, with 50%, 56% of them being at or below the poverty line. And that makes learning hard, and it makes learning worthwhile. Justice Thurgood Marshall said that unless our children begin to learn together, our people will never live together. And so we have to come together and learn together. But as we come together, we cannot assume that every child is the same. And as a matter of fact, someone much more brilliant than me, Todd Rose, who is a researcher and professor at Harvard, said that human beings don't line up perfectly. There is no average learner. He goes on in his book, if you've read it, to really give us some examples that this idea of average is actually a false concept. Because if you take two people, and he specifically gives an example of how airline fighter jet cockpits were designed. But if you take two people with very different measurements and body masses and you design to the average, the end result is that it will fit neither person. And so what happens as we think about the average learner, we know kids that have better memory, better auditory skills. Some students have stronger writing skills, language skills, relationship skills. But in education for too long, we have taken the average of all of those and assumed that it therefore works for each kid. That's problematic. And we really are now in a place where we can change that. There is an opportunity for an evolution or revolution, really, in education, to no longer force kids to fit into this same mold. And there are many schools here today that are doing that, and it's extremely exciting. I want to share a little bit about how Thrive is doing some of that, to just offer it as some food for thought. Because what Thrive is intentionally trying to do is to build student agency through personalized learning plans. And we think about those plans in three ways. We think about them as learning to learn, learning to do, and learning to be. Not something that we came up with. If you're sitting there, some of you are like, oh, that's deep. UNESCO came up with that way too long ago for me to take any credit for it being innovative. But I want to give you some examples of what that means and looks like and why it is something that is attainable by each of us and why it's important for our students. At Thrive, students learn to do. That means we don't just teach them content knowledge, but we give them opportunities to apply that learning through projects. The picture you see right now are 4th and 5th graders actually using power tools to build something. And while there are adults supervising that work and training students, the idea of students being trusted enough to do that is huge for them. And often when you ask a child at Thrive, tell me something amazing about the work that you're doing, they'll say, you know, they trust me with an X-Acto knife. They trust me with a power tool. And getting kids to create and do something and build something is incredibly important. More important, though, is this idea of learning to be. Because at the end of the day, we're not human doings, we're human beings. And instilling in students a sense of connection and empathy is hugely important. Arguably, our society is more divided than ever, and kids are faced with immense trauma. And so how do we help kids build connection? Kids aren't born sort of with a bias and baggage that we as adults have. As a matter of fact, I was working with 2 students the other day. One of them, Sean, took Andre's teddy bear, a therapy teddy bear that he holds because he has anger management problems. And so here is this child who has an anger management teddy bear, and the other child takes it, throws it in a puddle, and steps on it. Now, last year, those 2 students would have ended up in a fight. But what the student did was remarkable and really speaks to us giving students skills to solve problems. Because what he came up with after he was imaginably very upset, he said, you know, I think the other student threw my teddy bear in a puddle because he was really angry. And when I get angry, I sometimes don't know what to do. And I want to hurt people, and I want to break things. But maybe we can get him a teddy bear. And so rather than going to a place of anger, he went to a place of connection and compassion. The way we do that is by starting each day in community. Every student at the beginning of the day gets an opportunity to share about what's going on in their life. And we try to build empathy for each other through an opportunity to tell our own stories and to listen to each other's stories. This idea of speaking from the heart and listening from the heart is something that we've long forgotten. And yet we don't give kids the opportunity to do that. We usually tell kids in classrooms to be quiet, to sit in a row, to not interact with their peers. But what would happen if in a community as diverse as our school, kids actually learned to understand each other and could rely on that sense of understanding to move forward and build connection? Lastly, and some folks have talked about this already, is this idea of learning to learn. And how do we truly give kids more of what they need? If you're a kindergartner at Thrive, you've heard me share this story, which is somebody runs up to me and says, so-and-so fell and scraped their knee. And I said, great, what do you think we should do? And they said, let's get them an ice pack. Let's get them a Band-Aid. And I usually say, do you think we should get a Band-Aid for everyone? And they look at me and they go, no, only that person hurt their knee. They need the Band-Aid. And for kindergartners, it's really clear that we give somebody something that they need. And just because they need that doesn't mean that we give it to everybody. But all of a sudden, we go into the math classroom and we think everybody needs to do fractions at the same time. But actually, not everybody needs the Band-Aid at the same time. And we have an opportunity with the increased technology and flexibility that we have to give students more of what they need when they need it. Because at the end of the day, it's absurd to give an entire school a Band-Aid because one kid needs it. But it would be cruel not to give that one kid a Band-Aid because that is what they need. So in the end, it is having results because people say, well, okay, well, that sounds really cute, Nicole, fine, but so what? At Thrive, students are becoming college prepared, career inspired, and community minded. But it takes time. The graph that you're looking at is the results that we've had in our learning model. And you'll see the green line is actually results after 3 years. So you look at our results the first year with a student, and you're going, oh, Nicole, that's not looking good. because academic results take time. When students are so filled with trauma and challenges, we first have to connect with them. Think back to Maslow's hierarchy of need, right? Like, what is that basic level of support that kids need? But with time, when we fill their bucket, and every kid has a different amount of space in their fuel tank that we need to fill before that car is ready to go. But results do come. And I'll end with some takeaways of what we've learned and steps to possibly move forward from. We found that we need to make sure that we provide the special education supports that every kid needs in the way that they need it, and to make sure that it's aligned to the learner and not just out of the box. We've also learned that assessments must honor students' growth and not just their absolute outcomes, because it can be really discouraging for a kid 3 years in a row to be reminded that they're not on grade level, rather than to be reminded that they have grown 4 years in just the span of 24 months. And then really to have flexible timelines, and a few of you touched on this. You know, children don't all move and grow at the same time. Those of you that are parents that have more than one child, you know that kids are just different. Some start walking when they're 12 months old. You know, my 4-year-old decided to wait until he was almost 2, but they all have opportunities to grow. And as Professor Dr. Todd Rose mentioned, given enough time, students can reach comparable outcomes. The challenge is that in education, we often don't allow for that time. We have systems and structures in place that try to push kids through in a very homogeneous way. And so if we take the opportunity to truly give every child what they need, and to find a way to assess their learning and growth, and be open to moving at their speed and not just ours, I think we can do some really great things together. So thanks for having me today. Have a great day.